Go ahead and start because they're waiting on the phone. We'll call this meeting to order. I believe that all of our board members are here. We do have a quorum. Hildy is on the phone, correct, Hildy?
Yes.
Okay. We can barely hear you, Hildy.
I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Okay. First item on the agenda is the call to the public. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address the board? Okay. No, nobody. Okay, next item, discussion, consideration of, and possible action regarding identity theft coverage. Sam, do you want to cover that for us, or Hildy?
Do you want me to do this?
No, I was just asking if...
Is your microphone on?
I was just asking if Aaron was on the call.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to give it all over to Erin to explain.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, there's like echo in the phone. I can't stand that.
We don't have an echo on our end, so we can hear you
Okay.
clearly.
Okay, in that case, I'll just... the first item is identity theft. And just from our perspective, it flows into the next item, but the Board of Supervisors decided to pay for addition of the silver plan employee level identity theft protection through Cyber Scout. So that was a question because it goes into the next item, but in essence, the county is going to pick that cost, and then if the employee wants to buy up premium level and or add family coverage, that additional cost would be on them. So that particular item there is essentially I believe, an information item. I don't think there's any action necessary because the action will come in approval of the budget in the next item.
Okay, so does the board need to take action on that, or we just, whatever the board said is good? Board of Supervisors.
I don't really think we need action today as it's in the budget, and I think it's built into the budget. Funding is provided by the county. I don't believe there's any action. I think any action that might be necessary would be done in approving the budget.
Okay, then we can move on to item 3, discussion, consideration of, and possible action regarding the 2021-2022 Mojave County EBT budget benefit changes and rates. Aaron, go ahead.
Thank you. So Madam Chair, trustees, so at the renewal meeting, you'll remember we went various options. We went all of the renewal processes, and we had to basically table the budget because we needed to know what the Board of Supervisors was going to do on the cybersecurity issue, or excuse me, the Cyber Scout benefit. They, as indicated in that prior item, they since have adding that. We then had a couple of other action items, which were determined whether or not could hit the actuary's minimum funding of 4% on the medical funding factor, add the Livongo expansion, and add the addition of benefits to cover essentially those unexpected bill charges. So the situation where an employee or dependent goes into the hospital, pre-certifies, does all of their stuff, and then they get assigned an out-of-network provider. And in that case, previously the plan excluded it. It was up to the employee to negotiate with the carrier, with the provider. We had the actuary price out, paying those benefits based on usual reasonable and customary as outlined in the memo. But at the end of the day, as far as the cost items were concerned, we were able to do the silver plan for the Cyber Scout. We were able to do the Livongo expansion. We were able to do that emergency billing situation as indicated, and do all of that within the 4% rate cap that we discussed. It's a little bit cumbersome in that we calculated that 4% as if Cyber Scout was built into the rate. We use it as a budgetary marker, if you will. We did have to then pull that $3.25 out of each of the tiers because it cannot be included in the medical rate. It's not a benefit rate. But when you do all of those adjustments, you still wind up right at the 4% rate cap on the medical. So we were able to accomplish all of that. What we would wind up with is basically somewhere between 3.4 and 3.8% on each of the respective tiers. With Livongo, with that billing issue resolved, so we hit it in terms of all of the funding requirements that were set. The one item we were not able to get done is we were not able to, just because of getting schedules aligned, we were not able to determine if we could do a dual spouse benefit in a cost neutral way, both the county and the trust. As indicated at the last meeting, I still believe we can do that. The real question ultimately will become whether or not the county's finance and payroll systems will be able to effectively administer it. So the recommendation is to approve the preliminary budgets, rates, and benefits as outlined in the memo for the 21-22 year, and which would include those benefit changes, the Cyber Scout, I apologize, my page just flipped, Cyber Scout, Livongo expansion, and the out-of-network billing issues, and then to authorize staff to work with ECA and at their discretion on timing, implement the dual spouse benefit if it can be done in a cost-neutral way in both the county and the trust. So I'd be happy to answer, and if you do that, Madam Chair, you've got the budget as an attachment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question. So this funding at this extra, how much did you say? 4%?
It's the difference between the 0.4% and 4 after you incorporate Livongo in Livongo and the other benefit changes in it.
Right,
Nets out to, I believe, about $100,000 of additional funding going into the claims account.
Right. And so, but we're going to pay that. The county's going to pay that.
Correct.
The employees are not going to be responsible for any of this.
I would need to double check that with Sam. I think the intent was to hold employees harmless, but I'm not 100% certain. Madam Chair, Ken?
Because my memory about this Livongo thing, I think we were kind of split on whether we should do it. I mean, if it means that employees have to pay more money, I wouldn't be for it. I don't know how the other trustees feel about that.
Madam Chairman, staff, I think we have two questions here. One is, do we include Livongo in the package? And that is yet to be finalized with the board, with the EBT board. The other question has to do with whether it is included or not. The recommendation to the board in discussion with Chairman Angus is that the EBT trust would pick up the cost for the package so the employees are not burdened with this, with the cost of the change in the medical plan for next year. So really, I think with the question in front of us for the board is Livongo. Is it the intent to include it in the package for the additional items other than the diabetes, which was what we started with, for cardiovascular and other areas, or do we just keep it as is, which has been just limited to the diabetes? That's the question that we want to answer before we move forward with the full recommendation.
Well,
And Madam Chair, Sam, if I could clarify, because I think what we said is either way, we're still going to 4%. Still going to try to get that additional margin.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Hildy.
I remember, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe one of the trustees can remind me. I thought we were iffy about the Livongo. I mean, based on how many people were actually using the diabetes, which is growing, but I think that's the one we really want to keep advertising and mixing it up with this thing at this point. I'm not really sure if it's necessary, but if we voted on it, then then it's a done deal. I just literally don't remember.
So, Madam Chairman, a question to Aaron to help answer yours, which is the cost the same to keep what we have now for Livongo limited to diabetes, or does it increase if we add the cardiovascular and other features? And if it does increase, how much is that increase? Because I think it would help the Board of Trustees to understand, if we're paying more, how much more are we paying, and is it worth it?
Can I add to that question, Aaron? Remind us how measurable it would be if we added the extra.
Okay, so was that for Lynn?
It is.
Okay, all right, Berlin, thanks. I just want to make sure I recognize it. So the current program, if we leave it at just at diabetes program, current budget is $55,884. If we expand it to add the other programs, it's a net of $76,000. So really the question is whether or not you're going to want to vote to expand it or not. Missy looked into the issue of the measurements that they use to determine effectiveness. And Missy, if you would jump in, just because I don't want to mess it up, and explain what biometric measures of PAC are.
Yeah, absolutely. So when requesting reporting from Livongo, they did send over some information that I shared with HR. Livongo conducted the studies themselves, so obviously there's going to be some kind of bias there when it's administered by the vendor themselves. I did reach out to Gallagher Analytics, and unfortunately they've not done any kind of internal analysis on this program, but that is something that they are wanting to do for Livongo as a vendor, along with a handful of other vendors that are in the space. So unfortunately, we don't have that kind of data to be able to go back to for any current clients that we have. And again, Livongo, we need to take that with a grain of salt, given that they are conducting their own analysis, and they are showing favorable results. I'm happy to share that with you as well in an email, but at this point in time, we don't have any independent analysis that we can share regarding the effectiveness of the program, other than what Livongo has shared with us.
It really seems to me it's preventative in nature. We have been talking about expanding our preventative services to make a positive impact to claims, to catch diseases issues before they become a big problem. And it sounds like the difference is about $20,000 between just limiting it to what we have, the diabetes, and increasing it. Cardiovascular problems, to use Aaron's term from before, impact a lot of other health issues. So it may be worthwhile to include it, at least for the year ahead, and do so with a focused effort to monitor claims and such, and evaluate it in a year from now and see if it really made a difference. Perhaps Aaron, Missy, or others can keep that in mind and make it a target to help us measure that. But it seems to me it may be worthwhile consideration to include it, because we're not talking about a lot of money, yet it does really have the potential. That would be my input to facilitate this discussion.
I think I have to agree with you. I mean, that's one claim when we get into the heart issues. Ken?
My apologies, that's clarification, but on Aaron's thing, it says a net projected increase of 76,000, not 20,000. I just wanted to make sure that I'm reading that correctly and that we're all understanding the same thing. So it goes from...
I can jump in and clarify that. Sam, you're correct.
Yeah, so it's 50,000 that we currently pay plus the 76,000 to add. So just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. Thank you.
And I think it's important too, because I agree with what Sam said, and for the record too, it's important to understand that we don't pay anything unless people sign up to actively participate in the program. And cardiac is always a claim driver, standalone and with diabetes and things that go with it. Having said that, I want to make it really clear. The only dog we have in the fight is that we're bringing a program forward to target an area where the trust consistently gets hit with claims, and that the diabetes and the cardiac issues are always in there. So we don't know, we can never guarantee it's going to work. We can't guarantee that employees will sign up for it. We know the trust won't pay anything if they don't sign up, and if they do, then it'll give us something to measure, see if it actually has an impact.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair,
Roger?
my recommendations would be that we move forward with the additional plan.
Hildy?
See what takes place.
Yeah, just real fast. Wait, so it's 76,000 more, but we only pay if the employee uses it? Is that what you said? Now I'm very confused.
Yeah, it's based on enrollment, Supervisor, and we just projected. We made projections on how many would actually sign up.
I see. Okay, all right, then that makes it more palatable. As long as they don't have to pay extra, as long as we don't have to pay extra for our employees. I mean,
Unless they sign up.
Well, raise their rates. I mean, that we pay
Right.
for the county. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important to understand, Madam Chair. We're still going to do 4%, whether we buy the program or not, because we're targeting a 4% cap, so we put some additional dollars into the trust. So that it's going to be, it'll have a zero impact on employees over anything that would otherwise have happened.
Any other questions? Okay, any questions regarding the dual spouse benefits from anybody? Entertain a motion.
Can we go with the motion that's move to approve preliminary budget rates of benefits as outlined by ECA Gallagher for the 21-22 fiscal year, and to authorize county staff to implement a dual spouse benefits at their discretion if the can be added
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And that takes care of our ID theft as well. So agenda item number 4, requests for future action. Anything? Mr. Collins, anything?
No, we do nothing, Madam Chair.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.